Good morning, Tim Sykes here, pre-market video. FFIE is now closing in on $3 a share. I'm filming this just before 7 a.m. Eastern on May 17th. It already hit 302. In case you don't understand this or remember this, okay, Jack Kellogg literally had an alert at 6 cents. He sold it at 9 cents, okay, and that's a 50% gain. Literally, I mean, this was what, 3-4 days ago? 6 cents to now $3 a share. Let's do some math here. Let me get my calculator. I'm not great. Oh, I moved the video instead of the, shoot, how do I move this video back? Oh no. All right, there we go. Just so you understand how bad I am at technology. Just trying to open the calculator. You wouldn't think it would be so hard, but it is for me. Anyways, $3 divided by 0.063 to be fair. 47 times your money. And obviously Jack sold for 50% profits. He had a $500,000 profit day the other day, not just on FFIE, but he actually made more on AMC and SINT, which was another one of his plays. I hope you understand that, you know, what we said in this, like, I can't tell you how many people gave me and him crap for Jack Kellogg's next big trade, because we basically said that with the market environment the way that it is, you're going to start to see so much more upside. This is how Jack has now made, 12 million plus, and now actually closer to 13 million. We're not BSing and we're not hyping. We're just real, and we're experienced in an industry full of fools, fakes, and scams. And I can't encourage you enough to watch this presentation. If you've already watched it, watch it again, because I know it might not be, live or real time anymore. And, his pick on SINT has already spiked so much too. There's so many plays. SINT. Got up all the way to 22 cents. What did he pick it at? Literally 4 or 5 cents. So 4 or 5 times your money if you timed it perfectly, which you never do. But when you watch this video, maybe you haven't watched it already. I'm going to post a link to it below. Whether you've watched it, whether you haven't watched it, watch it again or watch it for the first time and take notes, because, we worked hard on this, and in just a few days, we've really been proven right. And a lot of people don't understand that this is a different market environment. I always say, I appreciate the short sellers, for sacrificing so much. Short sellers really don't understand how bad they are in this hot market and how much worse it's going to get as small caps keep spiking. Druckenmiller, I think I posted about how Druckenmiller just moved, he was $600 million away from NVIDIA to the small cap index, IWM. One of the smartest people in the world. And he literally just moved hundreds of millions of dollars from the hottest stock in the world to small caps. So we called this, ahead of time. When you watch this, we filmed this a week ago. It's not rocket science. The market is just crazy right now. And I want you to capitalize. We posted about how FFIE was 1,000% gain. Now we're closing in on 5,000%. And again, he sold it too soon. So even he underestimated it. I underestimated it. But that's the beauty of being in a hot market. I'd rather underestimate these plays and, lock in profits too quickly than short sell. Because I'll tell you what, FFIE just squeezed a whole bunch of short sellers. There's entire chat rooms for penny stocks dedicated to short selling. And they love short selling. I've made millions short selling. They say, oh, Tim, you don't do it anymore. You're a hypocrite. I don't short sell anymore, not because I'm a hypocrite, but because it's a dumb strategy, okay? To really make millions and to make low risk adjusted millions, you have to have the right strategy. It's terrible to have the wrong strategy in the wrong market, especially with short selling, where you can lose more than you put in. And I know several traders who lost 5, 6, and 7 figures yesterday alone on FFIE. And yesterday, all it did was jump up. All it did was impressive, but it went from basically 1 to 2. These short sellers are so arrogant, they're so stubborn, they're so narrow-minded, and they only view these companies fundamentally speaking, okay? And trust me, I'm with some big traders here right now. Some of these big traders lost 6 figures, but I know many other traders lost 7 figures. And I'm not trying to, rub salt in the wound. I'm trying to help you understand that because these short sellers are so arrogant, and they're not wrong in their fundamental research, but they're wrong with the wrong strategy in the wrong trading environment, and it's going to destroy them. And I can't tell you how many horror stories. A lot of people told me their losses in confidence. I'm not trying to, rip on them, but I want you to learn from their mistakes. Even some of my top students are short bias. I got to give props actually to one of my students, Kyle Williams. Where was it? I have too many tweets. He lost $390,000 yesterday, okay? And he says, embarrassed and humiliated would be an understatement. All the discipline and rules I thought I had out the window, half my year gone. He's still up $380,000, okay? So don't cry for him. I told him, I texted him privately, and I said, you're going to learn from this. You're going to come back stronger. He thought that he was long past this from 2022, 2023. You have to remember, a lot of my top students started with a few $1,000s. They made millions by being aggressive. And Kyle's made millions by being aggressive, especially on the short side. But again, this is the wrong strategy for the current times. And the best short sellers I know, like Kyle's one of the best. Imagine how a bad or a mediocre short seller would do. And to Kyle's credit, he, said mea culpa. He posted his loss publicly. 99% of short sellers aren't going to say crap publicly. Okay? So if you see a short seller on Twitter, if you see them in a Discord chat room, understand that there's a 99% likelihood that they just got massacred on FFIE. And Kyle, covered in the ones. Pre-market, this thing is near 3. It's tanking a little bit because it's just so inflated. 6 cents to $3 a share is stupid. But the reason why it spikes so much is because of the short sellers. I know. A lot of people are like, Tim, you just have it in for the short sellers. You're immature. I don't have it in for the short sellers. I always say I'm grateful for them, just like I'm grateful for the promoters. Without short sellers, we haven't seen that many good promos. Short sellers spike stocks more than promoters ever did. No promoter ever spiked a stock 50 times in 3 days. No promoter ever does that. Why? Because if the promoters spiked a stock this high, they would be investigated, they would be shut down. Promoters don't have death wishes, as much coke as they do, okay? They're just degenerate addicts and want to be Jordan Belforts. Short sellers inadvertently push these stocks so high because they short such big positions. There's nothing wrong with shorting with small positions, but the way that a lot of my top students and my older self made millions was shorting these kinds of plays aggressively. And if you keep doing that in this market with the lower interest rates coming, you will get annihilated. FFIE, I think, is just one of the first examples for you guys to see it in real time. And it's pretty cool that Jack picked it, as one of his plays for his newsletter. And I really can't encourage you enough to watch this. And we go over in this presentation why this is such a crazy cycle. Druckenmiller sees it, Long see it. Every single one of you needs to see this. And you need to understand why things are changing. And if you don't, you will get wrecked. And to Kyle's credit, he posted about it. If he didn't cover, I think it would have been like 600,000 or 700,000 today. So it sucks. And again, I know a lot of people who lost big. I'm not trying to rub salt in the wounds, but I want you to see that even the best shorts are getting crushed. And these are the transparent ones. I really feel bad for the insecure short sellers who won't dare post their losses on Twitter or in the chat rooms because they're too insecure, they're too shady. And if people realize how much they actually lose, they might be like, whoa, you suck. Short selling sucks. Wait a minute. And for me, I'm just honored to be able to be blunt. Some people will say like my tweets are, too aggressive. I say I've been warning about short selling for years. All the biggest shorts, now FFIE is proving those risks are worse than most realize. Trade scared, so trading is not so scary. You don't have to risk disaster. Do not be a degenerate gambler. And again, I understand the point why some people say FFIE is junk. It deserves to go back to 6 cents. I have no doubt it probably will go back down to 6 cents eventually. But as a wannabe short seller, especially if you're new or you have a small account, you can't outlast the squeeze. And you can't just keep averaging up like many of the big short sellers do. And the big short sellers who keep averaging up, they're getting annihilated. And people don't even realize it. I also went on to say this, like, guess what? Jack nailed this from 6 cents, and I was pumped like 6 cents to $1.68. It nearly doubled from this tweet, and this was just yesterday. It hasn't even been 24 hours since this tweet, and the stock doubled. It's not because FFIE is such a good company. It's because of short sellers, okay? And I say you shorts must learn through pain. The good news is short sellers don't listen to my videos. They don't study. They're not open-minded. They just say FFIE, oh, dilution tracker. They all bring up dilution tracker. So I actually thank dilution tracker. Dilution tracker talks about how like these terrible companies need money. They're going to dilute. There's all these, different kinds of ways that they're going to raise money at discount prices. And I just like literally they posted all this information about these upcoming dilutions and how bad these companies are. And I was like, you know what? Thank you for your service. Please keep helping create these absolutely epic squeezes. And they don't realize, again, because they're just focused, look, their job is just to talk about which companies need dilution. They're not wrong. These companies are going to be diluted. They are worthless companies. But I love the fact that, I said it sarcastically, but they say, hey, we'd love to take credit, but the truth is retail got billions in windfall from GME, making everyone whole and more. Just a small fraction of that flowing into a $1 million market cap will create 1,000 moves. That is complete BS. Dilution tracker might know dilution well, but I said, actually, most people who bought GME AMC, they just hodl, okay? That's another group of morons where they're just hodling the whole time and they don't take profits. So it's not retail GME AMC people because they're still in GME and AMC. Guess what? It's the overcrowded short selling niche. And I said, you know what? God bless your narrow-mindedness tool. We are truly grateful. And short sellers don't like it. Dilution tracker doesn't like it, but who cares what they like? Okay. They are the ones creating the squeeze. No rational, sane person is buying this stock up here at 275. What it is a lot of short sellers who are being forced to cover by their brokers. They're forced to cover to try to reload at higher prices. Who knows how high this goes? When a short squeeze happens, you don't know where the top is. CRKN is another one. Okay. This one's fading a little bit, but it's already up, 50, 60% pre-market. And CRKN came up from here, 8 cents. And yesterday it hit, 53 cents, 7 times your money. Yes, it crashed. It was actually a pretty good dip buy. I didn't even think that it was going to bounce. That's my fault. People in my chat room were dip buying. They're like, hey, it's a morning panic. And I'm like, no, this looks like a morning panic, but I don't trust it. I thought the short squeezes had all popped. So props to my students who actually did dip buy this. And, overnight, this thing has now doubled. So I need to be more aggressive. I need to rewatch this whole presentation with Jack. But I am on the right side of this, going long. If you look at my trades, I'm buying piece of crap stocks like LIDR, like CYN. Nothing huge. I'm not trading aggressively like I probably should. But a lot of it for me is also, I'm a teacher and I'm just trying to help people see how dangerous short selling is. And this is a really good opportunity with all these plays spiking so much. It's a good educational opportunity. And I'm also, trying to help some of the short sellers that I know through their big losses. And I'm trying to help them, see the error of their ways and how they can do better in the future. So I'm not optimized for big trading profits. I trade very cautiously, very cowardly, but I'm certainly on the right side of these things. And you can be more aggressive, on your own. And I'm so proud of so many students. I got to congratulate, Stocks to Trade Breaking News nailed CRKN. This was a 600% plus gain. Pretty awesome. But Dan Cameron, one of my students, he's working 13-hour days, but he's still studying 1 to 2 hour days, or 1 to 2 hours per day. And he made $440 yesterday. And again, Wall Street will rip on $400. I know how life-changing $400 can be. I started off with a few thousand. That's how it starts, okay? Try to make $40. Try to make $440. And you take bigger positions, same trade with a bigger position, you might make $4,000. You might make 40 grand, okay? The key is just understanding how to take the meat of the move, whether you trade big or small. And I encourage you to trade small in the beginning. Cam is one of my inner circle and challenge students. Took him and his wife to Japan. And he just said best day since he started the challenge. Nailing a ton of plays. All of these plays, GWAV, CYN, FFIE, CRKN, all junk companies. all up because of short sellers. So in the comments below, say thank you, short sellers, if you understand. Because why do short sellers spike stocks? Because they're shorting. And as it goes up, they have to cover. And in order for them to cover, that's buying to cover. There's no difference between a short seller buying to cover or a long bias trader buying. It's the same effect. You're just buying the stock. And, I would really think that most people up here are just short sellers buying. I'm sure there's a few degenerates being like, yeah, let's buy up here. I wouldn't chase any of these plays because it's going to end badly. You see here, it dropped from basically 50 cents down to 19 cents. And this was, yesterday around 2 p.m. And then the low here was like 210. So unless you're willing to lose 50% of your money in 10 minutes, I wouldn't chase it. But dip buys are certainly a potential play for this. Really proud of Cam, really proud of Gabe, another one of my students. Look at this. 1,400 minus 120 plus 1,200 plus 1940. Heading into Friday with his best week ever. And this is beautiful. He's not winning all the time. It's okay to take some losses. If you look at how, I've made now 120 grand plus in 2024 trading cautiously, I have lots of losses. I was a little too aggressive on LIDR, a little too impatient on PEGY as it turned out. Some small wins on EDBL, AWIN, which was good to be cautious. MULN, couldn't bounce. HOLO, it turned out I was a little too conservative. So I'm not trading perfectly, but again, I'm not risking disaster. I'm trading safely. And as I always say, trade scared so that trading isn't so scary. And this is something that so many traders need to learn. They just want to go all in. They want to use leverage. They want to bet big. They want to short fundamentally flawed companies. Big mistake to go into some of these chat rooms. A lot of the penny stock chat rooms are short biased. And it's very easy to have groupthink. And, it's very easy when Dilution Tracker, makes this whole case that these companies are going to dilute and they're worthless. And again, they are worthless. They are going to dilute, but you don't know how high it's going to go. And you can win 10 times, 20 times, 50 times. All it takes is one outlier and you blow up. And it's actually quite dangerous to believe in this dilution stuff because fundamentally you want to say, wow, this is a great short. I should just keep shorting. The higher it goes, it's going to crash eventually. But FFIE has already gone up 50 times. You don't know where the top is. We really don't know. Did it just top out at 3? Possibly. Might it go to 4? Might it go to 5? You don't know. Once these things go supernova, they take on a life of their own. Remember HOLO, just in case you want to, say oh no, this time it's different. This time it's different is always the most expensive words in the human language, in the English language. Here's HOLO, okay? This thing went from basically, well, this chart doesn't go back, or maybe they did a reverse split. Did they do a reverse split? Yeah, because it really went from 5 to 100. But I guess here, it looks like it went from 17 to 170. And then here, 23 to 100 and then back down. This happens, okay? And you look at it, you say, well, Tim, it always crashes in the end. But who knows how high it goes? And a lot of people got crushed on HOLO. A lot more people are getting crushed on FFIE. And if I had $1 for every single time a short seller says this is a fundamentally broken company, they're going to dilute, it doesn't deserve to even be at 20 cents, let alone 50 cents, let alone $1, let alone $2, let alone $3. You can't guess the top in this environment. You just risk disaster. I need to get that through to your head. So look at my students, like Dan, like Cam, like Gabe. There's more students too. Here's concerned Albertin in first dollar trade today. CRKN in at 26 out of 36. Made $50. That's a fantastic trade. Some people will say, Tim, it's only $50, but that is on the right track. And again, first trade, which is awesome. This is a great percentage gain. With this kind of a trade, you can do it later on in your career with more experience, more money, and you make $510, you make $5,000, you can even make $50,000 with the same trade later on. That's what I want to teach you. First, you have to get on the right side of these things. Then you also have to get experience and comfort with the volatility. And then you size up later on. But this is how it starts. So congrats to so many students. And I literally, I could spend a whole video just talking about students. I had hundreds of students with record days and record weeks. Why? Because we don't short sell. Everyone's like, oh, Tim, how are your students doing so well? Because I just took away the whole idea of short selling. And even though most of these companies will fade and most short sellers make money more times than not, they always blow up. They can't control the risk. I never want to partake in a strategy where you can't control the risk. Some short sellers will say, Tim, you say cut losses quickly, just cut it quickly. With short squeezes, you can't, especially if you take big size. This is the problem. You're sizing up, sizing up, sizing up. You don't know where the top is. You're trying to outlast a short squeeze. You don't know where the top is. You can't cut losses, especially with big positions, without a whole lot of slippage. And that's the number one problem. The way that my top students and I are currently making small amounts nearly every day is being on the right side and taking the meat of the move. Whether you enter too early, whether you exit too early, whether you exit too late, whether you enter too late, you're just trying to ride these things up. This is Fernando, another one of my students, in on FFIE at 84 cents, out at 91 cents. Okay? And this is a break of the pre-market highs. You say, Fernando, the stock is now nearly $3. You sold too early. Who cares? Okay? He took profits. He made $200 in 5 minutes and 19 seconds. I know a lot of hardworking people who spend an entire day doing hard ass work, manual labor, and they don't even make $200 in a day. And mind you, Fernando is still just learning with a small account size and had plenty more upside. So don't worry if you don't sell at the exact top. You're just trying to get a feel for these things. And again, you're trying to be on the right side of these things. It is such a screwed up thing for your brain to say FFIE is a terrible company, but I must buy it. Short sellers, I feel for them because many of them just can't adapt. Many of these short bias chat rooms talk all about the dilution. They go into the whole fundamental thesis and they brainwash their followers and their students into thinking that shorting is the only way. And a lot of the time they make money. And then you're like, wow, Tim, look at these guys. They're shorting with size. They're making money almost every day. And you're making 5, 10, 20 grand. But like Kyle has just showed us and many other short sellers who are too cowardly to ever post publicly, they're losing they're losing all of their yearly gains in one trade. If you look at the way that I trade, I mean, it's crazy, but I'm not taking huge risks. I don't have huge stress. I have a very small account. My average position size is like $10,000 or $15,000. These other guys are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because their position sizes are hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. So it's just a different game. And I can't encourage you enough to learn to take small profits, to not worry if you sell at the top, and just be safe. There's a whole saying, scared money doesn't make money. Look at my trading. Look at my data over a quarter of a century. Of course, scared trading makes money. It might not be as much fun. It might not be as much action. I might get made fun of in the trading industry. Oh, Sykes has only made a little over $7 million. Fantastic. Let these narrow-minded, arrogant fools think that you have to bet big and risk big. I will always thank short sellers. I'm trying to help people learn. I think that you can learn from their mistakes. But again, many short sellers won't watch my videos. They're not open to differing opinions. And so they just get wrecked. And as I always say to the short sellers, sarcastically, but also honestly, we thank you for your sacrifice. These stocks would never spike up this much without them. And there's a big difference between going long small and just exiting, like if the stock doesn't spike or if it starts fading, versus shorting more and more with size. I want to highlight one more short seller who said, Tim, sure there's shorts who took losses today, but taken out of the game on FFIE, I doubt it. Believe it or not, some made money. Like, I get you're excited and made such a good move. Some were actually warning if it held $1 plus halt band risk. And then another short seller says, the most dangerous strategy is believing everything on the internet. Imagine all the newbies that FOMO longed this at the top and they just got wrecked. The only losing strategy after 6 years is longing small caps. And I said, not at all. The most dangerous strategy by far is shorting these kinds of plays. Your entire niche just got annihilated and hardly anyone will admit it. Again, people don't realize I talk to more traders, more brokers, more market makers than all of you combined. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just a realist. So when many short sellers, and especially short sellers with chat rooms, pretend like, oh, I was on vacation, or like I didn't trade this, like, oh, I saw this, you're lying. Remember, who's getting investigated right now? Short sellers. There's several investigations into short sellers, not promoters. Remember, the promoters on Atlas Trading, they actually got off. So short sellers can be all high and mighty, but they are the ones under investigation. They are the ones colluding with multiple chat rooms all at once, shorting the same stock, trying to create these bear raids. And it's these short sellers who get annihilated. So pretend that there's no annihilation. Pretend that your strategy is good. Be, insecure. Don't talk about it on Twitter. Don't talk about it on in your chat rooms. Like, look at this. No, the niche isn't annihilated, Tim. Hardly. That implies one can't make money here. However, I will agree shorting is inherently more dangerous, especially if over leveraging, but it's also dangerous longing if over leveraged and you can get caught on an intraday offering. Remember, I lost $27,000 on an intraday offering now roughly like a year ago. So I know, yes, there is a risk, but $27,000 for me, that was my biggest loss in a decade. That was worst case scenario. I'm not risking losing 6 or 7 figures. If I was shorting, I would. And I said, as I've said many times, of course, you can make money going short. I've made millions on this strategy, but the problem is these days, these outliers that make shorts lose 25, 50, 100% of their accounts. Horror stories galore today. Hardly any shorts admits it publicly. No other group of traders are so shady and secure, and I'm forever grateful. That's what I want you to understand. I'm not telling shorts to change. Many of them are just lost causes, and I've learned, sadly, you can't help the helpless. I know that sounds cruel, but I've been a teacher for 15 years, and some people are receptive to the lessons, some people aren't. Short sellers are so stubborn, so narrow-minded, and they're in these groupthink Discord chat rooms where everyone thinks the same and they all trade the same, and it's a recipe for disaster. So I also say there's no over-leveraged longs getting blown out by offerings. Longs on this junk are mostly poor people who take small positions and they don't even know what leverage is. Not to mention I have, cut losses quickly, which protects us, which is impossible to do on shorts with size. This is the difference. Why is what I teach so much less riskier? Because I take small positions and I can cut losses quickly. Shorts who make the most money, and there's many shorts who do make millions, but they do it by taking size. And all it takes is one to go parabolic. And then you lose X% of your account, X% of your yearly gains. And this is the crazy thing. All the smartest, most aggressive people are shorts because that's what the odds are. You're winning 80, 90% of the time. But the cool thing is, because there's so many of these arrogant asses, you crowd each other out and create squeezes on junk plays and then wonder why. I say, please don't study my videos. Pretend I'm not 100% right. Keep creating great squeezes galore. I love the stubbornness and arrogance. Not surprisingly, this got 0 likes, 0 retweets. The short sellers don't want to admit it. I don't care whether they think I'm right or not. I'm going to keep teaching. I'm going to keep protecting my students. You guys are welcome to do whatever you want. I encourage more short sellers to ignore my warnings. I encourage more short sellers to take size. I hope short sellers get so rich because the bigger the bankroll, the more size they can take, the better the squeezes. Okay? That's the beauty of this. Now FFIE is finally fading as the markets are opening pre-market 723. Is this now a good time to short? Maybe over the next year, 240 will be the top. But again, you don't know how high it goes because short sellers, you don't know if they really covered. This is the problem with short sellers. They say they're covered. They say they didn't cover. You can't trust a one of them. There's so many short sellers these days. Hardly any of them. And again, to like Kyle's credit, he shows all of his trades. I do believe him. But there's so many traders out there who don't show all their trades. And they can just cherry pick and they can say, I did this, I can do that. But if you look at the price action, it ain't buyers buying this crap up 50 times. It's short sellers not wanting to buy, but also not wanting to blow up. Or brokers who are forcing them to cover because they have blown up. So that's the opportunity right now. I'm going to continue watching junk plays like CRKN. LIDR is a potential short squeeze too. This is squeezed a lot this week. SINT is a potential squeeze, although it's moved a lot. FFIE can still go. HOL can still go. I mean, look at this pre-market. Look at this. I mean, this is it's not even 7:30 in the morning, and we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks up over 60%. All junk companies. So I'm going to go make my watch list. I'm going to be ready to trade these, but leave a comment below. Let me know if you understand what I'm saying, if you promise to be safe. And congrats to so many of my students. I'm sorry if I couldn't mention everybody. I'm getting overwhelmed, and I'm just really glad to be on the right side of these things. Take pride in that. Take comfort in this. If you watch this video later, remember that May 2024 was a great time for longs of speculative junk companies and a terrible time for short sellers. So it's a good historical lesson too.